Okay, so
I guess we're live now.
hello guys, all of you who have joined us for this webinar. Just wanted to quickly check, can you hear us? If you can say in the chat section there. Great, great, great. So first of all, thank you so much guys for joining us for this webinar today. And I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Rashmi. I am a community specialist with Designhill, which is the #1 platform for design to find the best graphic design jobs. We have got a number of services there itself. So if you haven't checked it out, go post the webinar and do check out the website, right? So about this, quickly a brief about this webinar. This is a sort of an initiative that we have taken out for the community to help them wherein whatever kind of challenges designers are facing out there, we would like to give back to the community and would like to help them. So this is the very first webinar that Designhill is doing for you guys, and we really appreciate that you guys are there today and joining us. So thank you for that. Quickly, I'll introduce you to the guest speaker for today. We have got Dorjan, who is the founder of MaxAL Interactive Agency. And Dorjan, over to you. You can take it forward from here.
Hey, hello guys. It's me, Dorian. Actually, I'm like the founder of MaxAL Agency. It's the agency that has been operating in Europe for 2 years. And someone is saying that they can't hear me. Can you hear me? Oh, the sound is very low.
Yeah, Dorjan, you can continue. I think it's okay now.
Yeah, but okay. Can you hear me now? Oh, okay now. Okay, great. Okay, so as I was saying, I'm the founder of. I'll try and stay a bit closer to the microphone then. Okay, so I started as a graphic designer. It's been like 7 years now, 6 to 7 years, and then right after that, me and my brother we decided to start with a studio, and we do local work and also remotely. And actually, one of the topics, and this topic that we are here to discuss today, is not just one topic that you guys might be interested, but it's also one topic that interests me and probably everyone. And also, I mean, here I guess all of us, we are like designers here on the chat, and part of being a great designer and part of being actually a designer is also knowing how to price your design. You know how to price your design in a good way, how to strategically price your design. You can get the job done. And so this presentation is going to be divided in these 8 sections, and probably we start with the first one about who I am. Now, the second one is going to be about why this topic is important, why we need to pay attention to this topic, why we have to study as much as we study about the other things, we have to study about this topic. Which are the right pricing models? There are like a lot of pricing models, but we're gonna talk about probably the most used of them, and also after that we're gonna talk about how much profit we want to include in the price. we always, when we talk about the price, if we don't know how much profit we want to get from it, if we can't really calculate this, then we can't really give the price correctly. Then one way of doing this is also by studying the client, which is the next topic. By studying the client, by asking the right questions, by studying their business, it is actually really easy, more easy than we think about getting to a price. It doesn't matter. It can be a fixed price or hourly rating. It doesn't matter. If we study the client and their business, we know how much they can invest and also how much we can charge them. Also, the other thing that we're going to talk about is about our costs, how to determine them, how to, because they are costs. Like for me, for example, I own this studio, and then there are people who work here, and then when we get into giving a price for a client, and we might forget about these things, but those things are there, taxes are there and everything. And after we know about them, then it is easier to come up with a price. And after that, we're going to talk about asking about the budget. This is like most of us, or probably a lot of us, tend to just avoid this. And this is actually really, really important. And then during this webinar, I'm going to go through why this is so important and why we should not be afraid to ask about the budget, and actually why we should do that. And probably after we do that, we realize that it wasn't that hard, and also we might get the budget from the client, because after you get the budget from the client, it's really easy to just go on with a price. Then after this, I have some advices, not like special ones, but some advices that I've been like learning through the years, through mistakes that I've done with past clients, and just some advices in general. So we talked about me. Maybe you know me as Dorjan, or if you're coming from Instagram, you might know me as the designer. I'm actually pretty new to Instagram, but it's like probably you're coming from there. So if you don't have any questions from here, it would be good to go on with the first topic.
So, Dorjan, I just want to add one thing in between for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah. So, guys, all of you who are able to hear me, just a request. We will be taking 8 subtopics from here, and we would be covering 2 topics simultaneously. Whatever questions if you have any sort of questions, just go to the questions tab there and ask your questions related to the topic itself. And Dorjan would be answering and covering 2 topics. We would be taking a 5 minutes break, and Dorjan would be answering those questions. So once these two topics are complete, you feel free to add questions if you have any related to the topic, and Dorjan would be answering that. And in between, we would be creating polls, right? You will see sort of a pop-up on your screen. You can answer to the polls. Whenever you get a poll, you will get a pop-up. Just wanted to inform you guys that. Yeah. Go ahead, Dorjan. Thank you so much.
Okay. So let's start with the first 2 topics, the importance of this topic and the right pricing model for you. Um, Actually, when we give a price, we might go with a low price and a high price. It's like it's really hard. I mean, we want to go with a low price because this is the moment when we want that client to work with us, or we just want to get that job, or then the opposite of that is we go with a really high price and then we might lose the client. But those two, like, we think that by going with a low price we are doing what should be good, and then we're getting the client, but this is totally not correct. And actually a lot of people online are doing this, but and they are like, I'm not getting clients. It's actually really easy to understand that if you provide a low price, like a really low price to a client, the client might just think that you're not good enough. And because clients tend to uh, price you also, and by when you give them a price, they are like, maybe this is not the right person that I'm hiring. Is this the right person that I want to hire? Price means that he's also a junior on this thing. He does this also mean that since he's giving me a low price, maybe he's just starting. And also, even if you're just starting, and you might start with low prices, but the thing is to start in between, somewhere in between, because you give the idea that you have been on this game for a bit. The opposite of that is for a really high price. Going for a really high price means you can either be lucky, or there's no other way. Actually, you just losing the client. And when you go for a really high price, the client thinks that you're just bidding on a price, like getting the most that you can, and the time when the client might get scared. And uh, actually, the thing about high prices is that there is no easily fix. You can't like give a high price and then be like, okay, let's discuss about this, because at that point you're actually losing the client. The why I divided this topic into in the low price and high price, because uh, the price that you give defines you, who you are, and also your experience. And um, so I guess pretty much let's like leave it there and start with the other topic, and then because the idea is that all these topics are so related to each other that we talk about them in between. Um, Now there are a lot of prices, and probably the best way I thought would be to come up with the main two models. These two models are fixed price and hourly rate. So fixed price is it could be a project based price, or price that usually works for local jobs. And hourly rate is a price that is based on the hours and you put on that work. And I would divide these two main types of pricing. So let's say if you are a junior freelancer and you want to start on this game, I would go on with hourly rate. Hourly rate is like uh, really great. I mean, great for these people, and why is it good for you? Because if you are new to like design, it is like really hard for you to estimate a good price, or also a good time, uh, you how much time you need for that project. Also, it gives the client the opportunity to test you. If it's like hourly rate, it's easy for them to just go on with some hours with you, and then if they decide that you're a good fit, they can hire you. But the thing about hourly rate is that um, it is like really hard to estimate how much the project will last. This is a good thing for the client, but it's not a good thing for you. But it's a way that they can hire you, because of they have the opportunity to test this freelancer. About senior freelancers, they get to a point where they want to profit. Their profits are bigger, are higher, and for these reasons, you want to go with a fixed price. So I see that you're going on with some questions there, and I'm just gonna add just two more things, and then we'll get back to them. Uh, the good thing about the fixed price is that you have a flexible schedule, and you can do this for freelance and also for local works. For small jobs, you might go with hourly and fixed price. They work both. For hourly, you just uh, estimate, probably if it's a small job, it's a good chance for you to earn something, as you don't go with your base hourly model. You just tend to earn something more. Uh, for big jobs, it is also according to the client. Then we're gonna go to this topic, and we're gonna talk more about that, about pricing the client. You price the client. If it's a big client, you price it as much as you can. That doesn't mean you have to go and lose the client, but you have the freedom to do that. And the reason why fixed pricing is better is because clients just don't trust the hourly system. It's like really hard for it. Uh, and also, if you tell them this is my hourly rate, it and they clients can't really do the math. You tell them this is my hourly rate, but it's really hard for them to calculate how many hours is it going to take for you to finish that project. The good thing also about junior freelancers is that by going with a fixed price, you avoid time tracking apps. Those apps that you have to use to stay in lines, just to inform the client that I've worked uh, this much today. And also, your earnings are if you go by the hourly rate, your earnings are limited to hours. You can't really go and do more than that, or provide. It doesn't matter how much you provide, because your earnings are limited to that hour that you say that I'm going to work 5 hours a day, and then you are limited to that. You can only work 5 hours a day. And why would I suggest fixed pricing? I mean, and when would I suggest that? Because you can't go with fixed pricing unless you know how to precisely estimate the work that has to be done and the hours that needs to be put on that project. And when the client is not clear on what he wants, it is also a good chance to go with fixed pricing. Uh, Also, on small projects, if it's a really small project, always when going for fixed pricing, you tend to uh, say that, hey, this is a small project, you are in a rush. Also, a small project can take uh, more time for me and divide that time from other projects, so it is going to cost more. um, should we go on with the questions and see what you guys have asked? So Ruben, so sorry if I don't pronounce your names right. I mean, it's really hard actually, but he's saying, can you please give examples of what a high or low price could be in money? Um, there is no right example for that. The reason is like really simple. Depending on your area, depending on your zone, it is really hard to come up with a fixed number. It's like for me, I tend to use different prices here at the studio and different prices online, because people know me better as the designer online, and at the studio I'm just the designer of the studio, if you can like make the difference between them. But what to do for this on these cases is to uh, search online on ratings. And okay, great, because we're a bit running out of time. Okay, and let's see. If you're working on two clients that they want the same quality of work and they have different they run on different finances, you don't price them the same. You just price them, you just price the client, not the job on that case. uh that's about the t-shirt. I can't really think of a price about that, but good question. In that case. um So if we don't have any questions, probably we should go on with the next topic, right? Um, because two of these questions, because yeah, I'm looking at the questions tab, but okay, let me just see what Adam has to say here. Okay, so this depends on the freelancer. He's saying, do I charge for things like presentations and meetings? Personally, I do. I charge for every Skype call. I charge for all the meetings. It's the same price as for the project, and if it takes more time than that, I usually charge double. So, and the client should be okay with that because it's part of your job. So it's as I was saying. We have a new question. From Gigar, I guess. He's saying how much is an average charge. The thing is here that it really depends on the area, on your zone, and you can't really find two people that charge the same. But what on this case, the best thing is to just go online and see how much are the other people from the same area charging. So I guess we should. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we just have more people saying hello. For you who just joined us, we were talking. I'm just gonna go and in general try to kind of include all that thing that we said during the other topics. So right now we're gonna talk about how much profit do we want to include in the price, and how to know that the thing is we need to know the competitors. If we know the competitors and we know how much the other people like you are charging for the same project, then sorry, it's like really easy to come up and know how much profit you want to include. For this, as I was saying, and now it's the time to say that the right thing to do is just go online and see how the prices on the same area that you're offering those services. So if you want an example, what I usually do, and it is actually a great idea, is to go on Dribble. Dribble allows you to see how much designers charge you per hour, and by that you just go on and see if they have similar works to you, and then you just try to charge the same. And the next thing is to know the revenue target. uh, like every freelancer, every designer in this case, or at least, and I mean this also probably works on all the other jobs, but they have their revenue, and we can't like really uh, say the, because I mean we can't come up with an example, but if we go by stats, junior designers tend to put a revenue of like 12 to 20%. And if you senior designers can go from 40 to actually 70% revenue on just the job they are charging. The other thing is to know the production costs. So the production cost, by this I mean to know how many hours exactly are you going to put to that project. And it is hard to do that, but uh, during the time, once you get uh, in touch with a lot of clients, you just kind of get them and they use them as an example. Yeah, thanks. If you guys can just put the questions in the questions tab, that would be great. Okay. Now, this is like probably the topic that uh, I would like to talk more, actually. Uh, but so the idea is how to probably study the client, and uh, I added there that in order to study the client, we need to price the client, not the job. In that case, we'd be studying the job. So let's say that we are pricing the client now, and then uh, we want to divide them into private clients. Private clients are clients that are paying from their pockets, their personal money. So if you want to charge them, you should know that those clients don't have investors. It's all coming from their pockets. And then after that, we have small and medium businesses. And those businesses, and medium, we should know that uh, they are making money. They are they are they just jump from being a private client to a small business. So that means that they are being funded, or they are already making some money. And then we have large corporations. And by that, what it means, because it means that we're talking about a company that has a lot of employees and they are already making a lot of money. So why I divided those clients into three sections, because once you know how to differentiate them, it's like really hard to to come up with a price. And in order to study the client, one good thing is to go online and study the competitors. See if you study them, and you're probably studying the same client. And also you ask their clients about their goals, what they want to achieve, how do they see the future of their company, and from that you can decide on which place uh, do they stand. Are they a private client, are they small or medium business, or a large corporation? Let's just quickly jump to the questions section and see. Okay. Mm. So, because we have some questions that we kind of were talking about them before, just let me quickly read. Okay, just one second. Can you, I mean, if it would be like really great if you could like write like really like short questions, as the idea here is that it takes me time to kind of analyze the question, because and also they get pushed by other questions, by new questions. Um, So, Ruben, we were talking about your question. It's a really great question. So, as I was saying, because it is a bit complicated, but the idea here is uh, uh, you go by you go on and price the client no matter. So, if it's a small a private client, you just, no matter how big the project is, no matter how much effort you put on it, they are still not going to give you enough money, because they are paying from their pockets. If it's a large corporation, uh, they are making money, and if you provide them value, if you tell them that how much value this is going to bring to their company, because actually that's all they need, all they want to know, you can get to that point when you can get a lot of money from them.
So, Dorjan, just a suggestion here.
Okay.
So, we have got a lot of questions from our attendees. Questions you are answering to, we have an option of start live answer there. So once you click there, people will get to know that you are answering to which question. So it will give a clarity to all the attendees also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And actually, I was about to do that, but since like I get a lot of questions here that are the same. They are about the same topic, and that's why I was talking in general, trying to refer to like maybe probably three questions at a time. And we have it. Let me just go with this one, because actually. Um, this one is the only question that one- the only one at this type. So how to ensure payment safely? And usually clients take a lot of time to pay the amount that's annoying. It is annoying. I mean, it's that if you study the client at the beginning and then you also get you you use some methods or of pricing something at the beginning. You go for, let's say, 30% at the beginning, 30% when half the work is done, and then 30% on project is ready to be delivered. Because what usually freelancers tend to do online, they just start with a job, and because they are excited to start with that project, but what they don't realize is that they don't have anything guaranteed unless they go with advanced payments. The best thing to go to make sure that you get the payment in time is by asking them to pay in advance. Okay, I guess uh, quick one here about how to determine the cost. Uh, this is pretty specific about every company. Is just 5 minutes on this topic, and so to for that uh, the idea here is that you can't price big if you are small, or the client will know that. If the client will notice that if you are coming from a really like you don't have that much experience, and you want to bid, you want to price big, it, probably you might get the job, but there's a good chance that they will know. And the thing about here about the cost is probably related to taxes, expenses, and also your savings. So after every time after you tend to come up with a price for someone, you need to really think about these three things. For me personally, it's about the people that work here at the studio for me, and my taxes, my expenses, and also what are the savings that I want to have after. It's a so I'm seeing a question there. Is there a way to reduce taxes and gain more margin? I guess uh, it's actually a funny question, but we're not here to talk about that. But really great question. The other question is how to ask about the budget the right way. This is actually probably this should have been the first topic here on this webinar, but I just wanted to go through the other things that are so related to this one. And the idea here is that in order to ask about the budget, uh, and there are cases when you can't like really get and just ask about what's the budget. So what you can do is you can ask questions that are related to this topic. So for example, if you ask a client uh, what's the budget, he's going to be like, we can talk about that right now, but we can talk about your project. But if you ask them how many products will this touch, they because you need to know about your job, they are going to tell you in a way about what's the budget. They tell you how many things is this product going to touch. By that, you get a sense on how the budget is. And also, a good thing to ask, a good question is to ask about what's the marketing budget. And when they tell you about that, actually usually what you want to do is you want to relate all these questions to your job. You don't go and ask what's the marketing budget, you just ask about it and you kind of relate it to your job. You say that I need this in order to analyze your the problem that we want to solve for you. Also, another question could be what's the impact, or what kind of impact does this product uh, makes to your customer? And by knowing these, by getting these answers, even you get the budget, even by not asking about the budget the straight way. And also a lot of people are like scared of doing these questions. They say, uh, is it like a really good question to ask to a client? But from my experience, the more you ask, the more you get to know your client, and the more interested your client will be in your uh, service. And also, it's a saying that says good designers ask questions. So probably the more you should start asking a lot of questions. And also, the more you ask, the more you know. Um, so I divided this into another topic, which is what if the client won't give you a budget at that time? Because probably a lot of you are about to ask that question. What do you do? What do you do when your client won't give you a budget? So not all the clients are different. They are never the same. Some of them might prefer not to answer. Some of them might just give you an estimated price. But either way, there is nothing better than asking. And if if they don't give you a price, they don't give you the budget, then you what you want to do is you want to go and try to understand how much money is your client making, or how much money is your client going to make from this product, and also determine the value that your product is going to bring to this client. If you can determine that, then in that case, you know how much you want to price the client. And if you don't have a budget, then you should probably go and study the rates on your area. Like on the same area that you're going to do this job, you just go and study the rates, and you come up with a rate that's near the rates on the same area. So let's see if we have any questions here. I guess it's only one question. If we refer to such clients, what I'm not clicking on starting live question, because actually I don't. Which clients do you mean? But or you're meaning if okay, so if if the if your question is about will you create a bad impression to the client if you are going to ask about the budget, then the answer is no. uh, it's just a question at the end. But if you ask the right way, as I was saying, you go on and ask questions that are related to that and not directly the question about the budget, you might get the answer from the client, and they might not even realize that they gave you the answer. Um, I guess this video will probably be available to rewatch, and probably Designhill is going to re-upload it on YouTube. Now, this is the last section, and it's about some advices, some pieces of advices that I would give. Um, let's see if, before we jump into this, let's see if we have other questions. Okay, because if you have a question and you're writing it on the chat, if it would be good if you write that on the questions tab. And also, let's just go on and see the polls. Okay, so actually, a lot of people here are saying that if so, the question was, do you ask about the budget? And I can see that there are people here who ask about it, and there are others who say no, they can't find a way. So yeah, and people who are saying that they ask, they are like 75%. For those who can't find a way, probably you just got an idea now, or maybe if you came late to this webinar, you can just go on and rewatch it. And also, how did you start with pricing? And if we have people here who are saying, I'm constantly raising the price, and people who say that they go directly with high prices. So if you'd ask about my experience, I went with the first option. I was constantly raising the price. But if you'd ask me what would I do now after 7 years of experience, I would directly go with high prices, as the client can estimate if you are like racing, on which part of this racing price they are into. So if you go with I mean, if you believe in yourself and on what you do, and on also on your experience, you can, it's a easy thing to just go with high prices. Okay, let's see here at the questions tab again. So Andy, probably you started that question on the chat, and I can't really relate it to the chat, but let's just start with some quick pieces of advice, and then we'll get some minutes and do a chat here. Okay, so the first advice would be to watch tutorials online about pricing, or go and study about pricing. As much as you go and study about uh, like design, or you get tutorials online about how to do that and this about your work, you should at this point you realize that pricing is part of your job. And a good thing is to go online and learn as much as you can about pricing, because you might end up knowing a lot about how to do your job, but if you don't know how to do the pricing right, you're still not going to get the job. And the other thing, as we were talking about in questions, you tend to raise the price constantly. Like every time you get a new client, here, this is what we do at the studio. Every time we get a new client, we raise the price. As you're more experienced, of course, and you and pricing is directly connected to that. And also about the same clients, as there was a question there, should we raise the price about the same client? You should definitely do that, and you can do that by convincing them that you're better at what you do, you're better now. And also uh, you you give them options. You say, hey, I can still uh, come up with the same price that I gave you before on the first project, and we can do that with this project. But there are these things that we are offering now that we didn't offer them. That's why we are raising the price. And also, we talked about this, but it's a good advice to give, that we should not price all the clients the same. Uh, Sometimes you might end up earning a lot, sometimes you might end up losing something, but it's a good thing to always uh, try to uh, price the clients differently. And also, the last thing is about experimenting with your rates. So, uh, no one will price the same, and no one will ever have the same rate. So it's like the good thing about this is that you can experiment with that. You can see which rate works, which is probably not working at all, which is like really high and which is really low. How happy was your client? And by that, you can come up with a rate that suits you. Um, so I guess this was all there is about pricing. And if let's see if we have any other questions or what you guys are chatting here. So there is this question that says, how do you decide that this is the right time to change rates? Are there uh, any parameters that you go with? So the idea here is you don't decide how to change rates. For example, you can change rates on every project that you get. If it's like, let's say, if you're working on big projects, they tend to uh, give you more experience. So project after project, you just go on and change those rates. Uh, After, okay, so there is this. Okay, there is this other question. Maybe it's related to the platform, to Designhill, and So I guess on this case, actually Designhill has a really great way of doing the way they go on with contests and stuff like that. So probably the way they have kind of decided about this is like really a really great way, actually. So I guess actually I guess this was it. Let's see if you have any other questions or I'm not able to load the chat. Um, Is there any blog on this? Is there any blog on this that I have shared? Actually, there is. You can check on Medium at the designer. That's the username, and there is a blog related. Probably not this detailed as we did today, but it's a probably divided into points.
So guys, we will also be updating a blog on the similar topic. So with more details of obviously, and you can see the recording of this entire session on our YouTube channel. So stay tuned to to the blogs and the YouTube channel of Designhill.
I guess we're over with the questions, and probably we can end this webinar here, I guess.
So guys, if anybody having any question, feel free to ask, because the webinar is about to over. Yeah. All right. So I'm assuming there are no there are no questions that you guys have, and just a thank you to Dorjan for taking this amazing session, and thank you so much for to all the attendees for being patient and joining us live on this webinar. And we hope that we see you all super soon in the next webinar of ours, which is happening on 23rd, which is on how to structure your logo presentation. You guys will be getting some emailers from our end as well. So stay tuned for, there are a lot of things that are coming up on your way. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you guys like it.
Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you so much, Dorjan.
Hope you learned something from this, and you can go on and check it again on SITS Live, and make sure to check the other webinar that is coming up.
He's gone.